Hello, folks, and welcome to the second installment of Beyond Zelda, where we discuss topics related to the Ocarina. I use Serious Ocarina Player as the resource to guide our discussions. This book is authored by Robert Hickman and is actually available for free online if you go to his website on pureocarinas.com. So let me just get the website on screen. There we go. So I really highly recommend checking out the resource yourself because there are literally hours and hours and pages of content to do with the Ocarina, which is very helpful. And also, I would recommend joining the Ocarina Network group on Facebook because there you can learn a lot from talking with other Ocarina players from around the world. So the chapter I'll cover today is Ocarina Basics, and what I'll do is I'll try to focus on the practical aspects of the chapter because there is actually quite a lot of content here, like the whole history of the Ocarina, which you can read yourself on the website in your free time rather than having me regurgitate information that's already there. So what is an ocarina? Well, if you've discovered my video, I would assume you have some idea of what an ocarina is. It's basically this vessel flute instrument that I like to play. It has a hollow chamber, which makes it different from conventional flutes and whistles and recorders, which are tubular, and they tend to be open-ended, whereas ocarina are these closed vessels, which gives it unique sort of tonal characteristics. It has this pure ethereal tone. The pitch is unstable and oscillates, much like trying to control a voice while you're singing, because the harder you blow, the pitch goes up. The lower you blow, the pitch goes down, and you can really use that to your advantage musically. They tend to be small and easily slipped into a pocket, and they're also relatively maintenance free. You don't need to tune them up, or there's not a lot of cleaning involved. It's a very convenient but also very capable instrument. So in this section, Robert goes through the history of the ocarina. I won't spend too much time on it besides giving you a very brief skeleton overview, which is basically that instruments like the ocarina have existed for thousands of years. So since ancient times, ancient civilizations made whistles made out of clay that they dug out of the ground. In the 19th century, this fella named Giuseppe Donati created the first modern ocarina, and that's his design here. It had 10 holes, giving it a range of about 1.5 octaves, and he tuned it to standard tunings in different keys. And you can use it as a solo instrument, or you can use it in ensembles. And from this original design, came other designs which spread throughout Europe, and eventually, in the 80s, it spread to. Oh, actually, not the 80s. It says the 1930s here. It actually spread to Japan, where the first sort of Japanese makers started making their ocarinas. A player named Sojiro really popularized the ocarina throughout Japan and Asia. And today, the ocarina is practiced by many students in the Asian countries. The Asians created their own version of the ocarina, the main difference being that Asian ocarinas have 2 extra holes called subholes, which give you 2 notes below what the lowest note of a typical 10-hole ocarina is. This comes with its pros and cons, which we will cover in a later section. There's also multi-chambered ocarinas, so these are your double ocarinas, triple ocarinas. There are even quadruple ocarinas. What's special about them is that they have more than one chamber. So this one is a single-chambered ocarina, meaning that there's only one hollow chamber. There's one hole for you to blow into, and this is the range of notes. And there's no more notes to go for. But on a triple ocarina or a multi-chambered ocarina, you have the same notes, and then if you switch chamber to the middle chamber, it continues to scale from where the first chamber ends. And then if you have a triple, you have another chamber where you can play even higher notes. The more notes you have, the more songs you can play, and the more versatility you have with playing things in different keys, and you won't need to switch ocarinas because this one instrument may potentially be able to play all the songs in your repertoire. So this was a huge leap in sort of technology and versatility to the ocarina. Then he talks about use of the word ocarina. So I guess the main confusion here is that ocarina is a word of Italian origin, and it refers specifically to the modern ocarina invented by the Italians in Budrio and their sort of variants thereof. But the term is also used broadly to describe, the ancient whistles or any kind of instrument that produces sound in the same way as an ocarina does, as a vessel flute, or in physical terms, a Helmholtz resonator. So anyway, let's jump to the next topic here, which is what are ocarinas capable of? So the ocarina is a wind instrument, and basically it can do what all wind instruments do. It can substitute for a flute or a violin or a trumpet or a saxophone. So where those instruments have solo instrumental roles. The ocarina also has a very pure tone that cuts through the mix. It can also be used in ensembles, like the example here. And here we go, pure ocarina. So ocarinas can be played in a wide range of scenarios, including solo, ensemble, and with other instruments. And then he talks about the technical capabilities. So before I get into that, what I'll show you is a few, examples of ocarina being played at a high level. The first two examples will be an example of solo playing or solo playing with other instruments. And the third example will be an example of ocarina being played in an ensemble. Wow, so that was a video. That was a performance by a player named Zalzi Lei, and it was performed at the Symphony of Fire and Clay, a ocarina concert that was hosted by Folkerlink Stein, and it's been uploaded into Zack. He's the manager of Folkerlink on his YouTube channel, and I tend to come back to this video a lot because it demonstrates what an ocarina is potentially capable of. So it's for me, it's an instrument of unlimited potential, and it's dependent on your skill as a musician on how far you want to reach. So if an ocarina is capable of something that complex and that impressive, then truly nobody can dismiss it to be a toy or to be an instrument that's only suitable for folk music or video game music. The next sort of clip is from Giorgio Pacchioni. He's a legendary ocarina maker and performer who's made many contributions to the ocarina as a whole, and this is a performance by him. So again, another very impressive demonstration of the ocarina. The instrument he used is a triple ocarina, a triple S ocarina. It's a Giorgio Pacchioni ocarina, so it's an ocarina that he made himself, and he actually designed his ocarina with a alternative fingering system. So the fingering system that a conventional triple or double ocarina uses is called the V style or Vicinelli style in the Italian terminology. It's named after the maker Vicinelli, who actually made the first ocarina of this type, where the focus is on extending the range. So where the highest note of the first note, then the next note is played by the lowest note of the second chamber, and it goes up the scale. And on the triple ocarina, you get 3 octaves of range as a result. In the Pacchioni style triple, there's actually more overlap of notes between the chambers. Another example of an ocarina that's sort of similar to this design is the Songbird Harmony Triple. So that ocarina was made for the purpose of playing harmonies between the chambers. So to jump to the next example, this is an example of a double ocarina, which is designed with harmonization in mind as opposed to range. So that's a wonderful performance by Mr. Charlie Hind, another legendary maker and performer of the ocarina community, who has recently sort of gone into semi-retirement. So it's a little bit harder to get your hands on his fine wooden instruments. But that's an example of a double ocarina designed with more overlap notes between the two chambers, so you can play harmonies. Another example of ocarina is something from my own channel, more shameless self-promotion, and this is an example of ensemble ocarina playing. Yep, so as you can see, there's several ocarinas being used here. So that's a lower pitched ocarina. I think that's a pure double alto G ocarina. That's a Spencer double alto C. That's an Aketa double soprano F. And I've got a mountain inline ocarina in G. I didn't have a bass ocarina at the time that I made this video, so I sort of substituted that part with a melodica here. But you can see that each ocarina is playing, or each instrument is playing a different part, and you get this harmonized ensemble kind of performance with the ocarina. So I hope that gives you a bit of an overview of what the ocarinas are capable of. It's definitely not just a toy. It's definitely not just some video game gimmick from The Legend of Zelda. Although, you know, I'm quite nostalgic about that aspect as well. But you know, you can certainly play more songs on the ocarina than just Zelda songs. Okay. Anyway, I'll leave this video at that because the next section deals with technical capabilities, and it covers things like articulation, ornamentation, timbre, volume dynamics, microtones, and expression. And I think that warrants a video of its own. So anyway, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I would encourage you to check out pureocarinas.com for your ocarina knowledge needs, and the Ocarina Network Facebook group for all your community needs.